Alright, so today I was going through my female ball pythons, and believe it or not, one of them actually laid an egg today. And this is the female that, if you've been watching my videos, about 4 weeks ago, she laid a big clutch of eggs and then was egg bound. She had 2 eggs stuck right in the middle of her belly. And I worked on that ball python for about a week and a half, twice a day. I was soaking her and trying to massage those eggs out, and I could not get them to budge. And they were pretty far from the vent. They were about, I'd say about 14 or 15 inches right in the middle of the snake. They were stuck. I just could not get them out. And normally for something like that, I would actually bring the snake to the vet and have an emergency procedure done. But the problem is here in 2020, you know, we're right in the middle of a pandemic, and I do not want to risk leaving the house for any reason at all. As a matter of fact, the last few days, I actually have been suffering from a kidney stone. I thought I was going to die from this crazy kidney stone, thinking I should be in the hospital. And let me tell you, I do not want to leave the house for any reason at all. The only time I'm going to leave the house is if I get a vaccine for this crazy virus. I'm pretty much locked down, so I'm pretty much doing the best I can with all my animals as far as just doing everything myself. I got to the point after about a week and a half, and I decided I'm just going to let this snake kind of be on its own. Hopefully it'll pass it or absorb it. Sometimes ball pythons will absorb it. And pretty much from what I've heard, you know, if a ball python gets egg bound, you know, I've never really seen anyone just kind of leave them be for a really long time. And a lot of people say, you know, if you have an egg bound snake and you don't get that egg out, the snake is gonna die. And I wasn't sure if that was 100% of the time or if it would actually pass it. So I actually opened up the tub today, and to my surprise, one of the eggs actually came out. And I thought, you know, if the eggs actually came out, they would look all gray and moldy and everything. And believe it or not, it looks like that egg was just laid. It was a pearly white egg. So I kind of want to go in and I want to take a closer look at that egg, maybe candle it and see if there's any development in the egg. And then I want to set it up in an egg box in the incubator. It'll be interesting to see if this egg actually hatches. And I've actually had some egg bound females that were like a day or two behind. They'd hold the eggs for a couple days, and then they would eventually lay them. It seems like every time they don't lay those eggs with the initial clutch, they always go bad every single time. As a matter of fact, I actually had one that was like a day late on this clutch, and I tried to spray it with hydrogen peroxide. I was trying to, you know, try something new to try to save the egg. And let me tell you, you don't want to use hydrogen peroxide. It completely turned that egg black, and it got rock solid within just a couple days. Hydrogen peroxide is not the way to go. I've seen people spray on like a foot powder, and I've actually tried bleach and foot powder and a whole bunch of different things for bad eggs, and I have yet to save one bad egg that starts getting really furry and smelling real bad, full of bacteria. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to that snake, and I want to see this one egg. Hopefully she laid the second egg. It'll be interesting to see if she just has the one or if she laid 2, and then we'll set them up in the incubator. Alright, so I have this female over here in this rack. This is all my breeder females in this rack over here, and this is actually a Pastel Calico female from 2013. So she's, what, about 7 years old now, pretty big female. I was actually opening up the tub here, and take a look at this. She has this one egg right over here. Not too bad a condition for being an egg-bound egg. It looks like maybe it's a little bit discolored right on the end, but I'm actually surprised that it looks pretty decent. She still has one egg up in her belly. Hopefully she'll actually pass that second egg. Since one egg passed, I'm pretty confident that the second one will pass. So we'll have to cross our fingers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I set up an egg box for the incubator, and then we'll candle this egg, and then we'll set it up in the incubator. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I set up my egg boxes, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can actually set up an egg box for incubating ball python eggs. So the ball python eggs, actually you have to incubate for 2 months at 90 degrees in an incubator. You don't turn them like a chicken egg, you just leave them sit in one position. So essentially what I do is I use these little egg boxes, and then I put vermiculite water in there, and then I put this little grate right on top to put the eggs right on top. Some people put the egg right in the vermiculite water, and what I do is you can use any kind of vermiculite. I actually use kind of a I guess it's a fine grain vermiculite. You can actually pick this up. I think I picked this up at like Home Depot or any of your hardware stores. I think you can get it on on like Amazon or eBay or something like that too. So, you know, some people use perlite, some people use vermiculite. What I do is I actually weigh it out, and I weigh out 150 grams of vermiculite. So I'm like at 142, 144, oh, 148. It doesn't really have to be that exact. 150.0, that is perfect. And then what I do is I zero the balance, and then I actually use some different water this time. This time I actually used distilled water. I actually have a water distiller, and I distilled it. Hopefully I can cut down more on the bacteria distilling my own water. As a matter of fact, someone actually made a comment and said, hey, why don't you use a better water than just tap water for your egg box? I thought, hey, that's a great idea. So I actually switched over to this this distilled water. So essentially what I do is I weigh out exactly 150 grams of vermiculite, 150 grams of water. And this is kind of hard. Usually I use a syringe right at the end. Maybe I can get pretty close this time to actually get close to 150. I'm at 138, 140, 148. And then what I usually do is I use just a little, one of these little disposable syringes for the last little bit of water. And it's just so much easier if you just weigh it out versus, you know, trying to guess, you know, exactly like a 50-50 mix. So that is like 150.2 grams. And then what I'll do is I'll just mix it up really good and get kind of an even consistency. And this is plenty of water, believe it or not, for 2 months of incubation. And I actually heated this water up to about 90-95 degrees, just so I can kind of give it, you know, the right temperature right from the start. So I didn't put a cold box in my warm incubator, and then, you know, it takes a while to actually warm it up. And then this actually has a consistency. A lot of people weigh it out to get an exact consistency, but if you kind of eyeball it, you can have it to where it clumps a little bit, but it won't actually drip any water if you're actually squeezing it out. And it seems like it's really kind of on the super dry side for something like this. And then what I do is I just kind of level it out, make sure it's really level, and then put the grate right on top of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just pull this egg out right out of this enclosure here. And I don't know if this egg is going to hatch or not. It almost feels I don't think there's any hope for this egg. As a matter of fact, it's pretty hard right on top of the egg. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to candle this. I probably should have candled it before I actually made an egg box. And it's a little bit it kind of has a really kind of a weird smell. I don't know if this is going to turn out or not. I'm just going to throw it in the incubator, so we'll see if it actually develops or not. I'm thinking probably 90% of the time it's not going to develop. And if we actually take a look at it, I don't even think there is, well, I don't think there's any hope for this egg. Maybe there's an embryo, right? I don't think so. I think it is hard boiled. 4 weeks in the belly of the snake. I'm just gonna put it in the incubator just for kicks, because you never know. It's like really slimy, and it kind of smells kind of funky, but I'm gonna try it. Alright, so I had to actually go up and wash my hands after that one. This thing, it kind of has this weird kind of a vanilla cinnamon smell to this egg. It's really kind of weird. I'd say there's probably 0 chance that this is actually gonna develop into anything, but I might as well give it a shot. I like to give everything a shot that is possible. You never know. And essentially what I do is I put this press and seal right on top to seal in the humidity. And I'm thinking this will probably be in the incubator maybe a couple days, maybe a week, you never know. But if this thing actually develops, it'll be a miracle. It'll be pretty amazing. But you know, I thought, you know, it's weird that it looks like it's white still. It's not really, doesn't really look like it's a bad egg from the outside. Just from the inside, it looks really like there's something in there. So I'm not even gonna label this. I know exactly what it is, and I'm just gonna throw it right in the incubator. So here's the rest of the clutch that female actually laid that is still in the incubator. It's been about a month. I can't believe it's been 4 weeks since these were laid. It's pretty incredible. I just kind of wanted to check on them real quick. You can see there's not a whole lot of condensation right on the top. Usually what I do is I just take a paper towel and clean off the condensation. And you can see on this one, it's getting a little bit fuzzy. Maybe on this one, it looks like maybe one of them was a little bit egg bound, kind of got a little bit of indentation. I actually had one that was egg bound, and I actually pulled it out. You can see a little bit of mold right on the side of that one, but you know, if they get a little bit of mold, usually they're okay, but when they start turning completely moldy, and if they smell really bad, that's usually a really bad sign. Usually if you open the incubator and something smells horrendous, then you know you have a bad egg. And I actually had one that I actually put over here, kind of separate from all the other ones, and that's the one I sprayed the peroxide on. It just turned black and really nasty, and it smelled really bad, and I actually got rid of that one. So it looks like we still have 7 good eggs from this female. So what I do is I just take a piece of paper towel. I used to replace the press and seal every single time, and what I do is I just kind of wipe off the press and seal, and you can keep reusing it. It really keeps its stickiness for the whole 60 days. Really, there's no need to replace it. I was actually, you know, I had my whole incubator full of lots and lots of eggs, and I was going through like every 2 or 3 weeks and replacing all the press and seal, and it's not really necessary. You can just dry it off and put it right back in the incubator. As long as there's no holes in it, looks like I kind of got a little scratch right there, but you don't really want any holes in the press and seal. The air can transfer right through the press and seal, and it holds all the moisture inside. All right, so I have 2 more boxes of eggs that I wanted to show you real quick that are in my incubator, and I just wanted to check on them. These haven't been in there very long, maybe not even a week, I would say. And if you actually take a look at this one, this is actually a pretty exciting pairing on this one. This one has a little boob egg over here. This one is actually my Calico bamboo crossed with a Pastel. So we should get some really interesting snakes out of this one. These are looking fantastic. Looks really good, and none of them are, you know, molding or discoloring. The one thing you have to watch out for on a lot of these eggs, especially once you start getting into the incubation, that if you don't have enough humidity in here, the eggs will start getting smaller and smaller, start shrinking, and almost like they're getting sucked in. That means they're losing too much moisture, and if they suck down too much, they won't hatch at all, so you have to be really careful of that. So this is a really exciting class. As a matter of fact, I was looking at some of my other females, and it looks like I have a Lemon Blast, which is a pastel pinstripe, that might lay some eggs. It looks like she's gonna lay some eggs, and I actually bred that to my my Calico bamboo. So I might get, as a matter of fact, if I get one, I might keep it. That is pastel pinstripe Calico bamboo, which would be a really powerful 4-gene snake. I'm hoping for a male and something like that. That would be really awesome. So I want to check on this one last box. This is actually the other half of that same clutch. It was a really big Pastel bred with my bamboo Calico. And I like to check these like after the first week just to make sure they're doing okay, because usually if you have a bad egg, they go bad really super fast, usually within the first week. And then after that, you're pretty safe. You just want to make sure that you have enough humidity in there. And you see all these little X's, those were the embryos that we want facing up. Essentially what we do is we candled them, and there's a little red circle in there, and then we put them on the top. So you actually will slightly increase your hatch rate if you put your embryos facing up. I heard it's like a 5 to 10% increase in the hatch rate. Of course, you know, usually with snake eggs, most of them will actually hatch. Almost all of them will hatch in most cases, unless they go bad, they start molding and getting a lot of fungus on them, or if they're a slug or something like that. And usually for slugs, you can tell right away the infertile ones versus the fertile ones. All right, so here is my egg incubator that I actually built out of a beverage cooler. I converted it. As a matter of fact, I actually got this on Craigslist. Some guy was selling it with a bad compressor. He bought it brand new, it didn't work. And then I bought it brand new, never used, and it still smelled new and fresh. And what I did is I just kind of put the heat tape on the sides and the back, and then I hooked it up to a heat controller on the bottom that sits at 90 degrees, and then just put a little fan in the back. It's been working fantastic, and right now I have 4 boxes of eggs. Of course, one is the slug that we just, the egg bound one. 4 weeks of egg bound. I don't know if that one's gonna go, but it's actually in here. It makes a little bit more impressive of some egg boxes. Last year, it was kind of incredible. I actually had this whole thing completely full. I think I only had like 1 or 2 spots way up on the top, and then as soon as one would hatch, so another snake would lay some eggs and I would put it in there. It was almost not enough to keep up. This is like barely enough. And I actually have one big reticulated python. If she ever lays eggs, she'll probably fill this whole thing complete with eggs, and then I'll need another egg incubator. All right, so there you have it, egg bound for 4 weeks and finally passing an egg. That is one for the record books. As a matter of fact, if that egg actually hatches in the incubator, that one is gonna be one for the record books as well. And I would highly recommend, if your ball python lays some eggs and then has some eggs stuck in the belly, usually what I do is I'll wait 24 hours, and within 24 hours, a lot of times that snake will pass those eggs. Sometimes you can actually wait 48 hours and it'll actually pass those eggs. But usually on day 3, after they lay the eggs, and if there's eggs still in the belly, then you have a problem. And if it wasn't for the whole pandemic and the virus thing, I would have been at the veterinarian on day 3 to extract those eggs, get them out of her belly. And I'm not sure exactly how they would do it because it was so far from the vent. I don't know if you need to actually perform some kind of surgery, or if it's actually near the vent, sometimes you kind of use a probe and some lubricant, and I've actually seen that where they kind of work it out from the vent area. But if it's up in the middle of the belly, sometimes that can be really problematic. Sometimes I've heard in a lot of cases it can actually kill your snake. This is the first time I've ever had an egg bound female that was egg bound for more than a day or 2. So it was pretty nerve-wracking, and especially after the first couple weeks. And then I was just wondering, what is going to happen with the snake? Is it going to reabsorb those eggs, or is it going to pass those eggs, or am I going to run into some more problems? I'm glad at least one of them passed. So I'll keep you up to date, and if she passes the second one, I'll definitely do an update on that one too. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.